going to really start to elevate all of the information that you need to really expand your business and get you the data and information that you need so that you can continue to drive business in any market. And so we're excited to be sharing this with you guys today.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And we all know that systems are what really help drive your business. So that is specifically what we are talking about, the S word, systems, not snow. Um, not looking forward to the snow yet. Alicia, you just came back from vacation, right?
Yes, no snow there. It was
Or,
fabulous, fabulous.
yes, awesome.
So,
Okay, so we still have a few more people filtering in here, but without further ado, I will pull up the screen here and we can get started.
and while Stacy's doing that, I will let you guys know that we are in webinar form right now, but we will have some time at the end of this for all of your questions. So as we get to the end, you can throw them into the Q&A section. And then when we're done showing you our deck, we'll open that up for a Q&A and we'll mastermind a little at the end. So if there is anything that you have questions about, put them in the Q&A and then we'll get to that at the end.
Wonderful. All right. Hopefully everyone can see that okay. Today we are talking about the proven methods for business, high performance business strategy, the strategy that top leaders use to scale in 6 months in any market. So these are proven, tried, trusted, and true methods. So Alicia?
All right. So we all know that with great growth comes some great pain. As an entrepreneur, we've always felt this, right? As we start to grow, we're starting to take a few moments and we're like, some of this is a little bit painful. Sometimes we have to break the system in order to improve the system. And as an entrepreneur, we've gone through this over and over. And like Stacey said, we've tried, tested, and true, tested, and true. So we know how we're going to break this and the pain that it's going to cause. We're here to show you how to remove that pain.
Exactly. And why experiment with painkillers when we already have the proven method? So did you know that sometimes the scaling process can often cost businesses more than 500,000 in lost revenue? I remember when I started my brokerage with my partner, we spent so much money trying lead conversion things, hiring the wrong people. And at the end of the day, it was a costly mistake. Real estate, you can make great money, but you can also end up spending a lot of money too. So as you were saying, Alicia, it's all about breaking the business formula. So why don't we get into that a little bit more?
Yeah, let's talk about, there's three things that we really want to look at on how to break that business. So the misguided hires. Anybody hire the wrong person before? So if we tend to feel like we want to hire so fast, but what happens is when we're on that, fast trajectory, we're not always making the best hires. We're just thinking, this is a warm person, let's go. By bringing a warm person and the wrong person, what's happening? So we're throwing money down the drain at that point. We end up by hiring what we think we need and not actually what we need. The next part is the lost revenue, the lost leads. I don't know about you, but I've invested a lot of money into leads. And when we're putting our hard-earned money into our lead generation, we want to make sure that we're getting a really clear ROI on that. When a new hire comes in and they're not trained, they're just kind of winging it and off the cuff, what happens is our ROI starts to go down. As a business owner, I don't want that. I want to make sure we all succeed. And finally, to break the business, we need to look at the time. How much time is invested? How much over and over do we have to hire, train, rehire, train? When we're looking at all of the money and the energy that's getting put into it, all of a sudden that hire has now cost us more time and money than it was to solve. So this is a really good idea to look at, are we hiring the right people? How much money are we losing on our leads? And how much time are we really investing? And what is that cost of that time?
Absolutely. And one of the biggest problems I find, Alicia, is that people hire reactively, not proactively. So this is to teach you when to hire, right? So we really want to look at it like we're taking your business, we're taking that model and we're reformulating it so you can anticipate every single step. So what would it mean if your life and business, if your conversion rates were 70% higher? I'm sure it would mean a lot more freedom, a lot more trips for Alicia, uh, maybe some killer digs with like an infinity pool. I don't know. I don't know. But for me, that's a game changer for a lot of people. And most times people, when you're making 70% higher, then you're really investing in your growth in your future, right? So here, we have the 30-30 method. Alicia,
Absolutely. I like this because the 30-30-30 is allowing you to get really clear on all the moving pieces. For example, we're going to start looking at it today, not what's in our database, but today. Do you know where your first 30 leads come from? Truly, do you know? Do you know how many in-person meetings you've gotten from those first 30 and how many more? And then finally, how are those first 30 closed deals? And when we start to get really clear on this data and start tracking it as of today, all of a sudden, we've got a lot of time in order to get this information. I don't know about you, but I don't want to go back and invest all that time over and over to get those first 30, then call and process them to get those in person, and then finally those closed. So understanding about how we get the data is going to be really, really imperative on your business.
absolutely. And not only that, it's so funny because we speak to so many realtors who don't use a CRM. They scribble in notebooks, they scribble on notepads, and then that leads lost once the deal's done and closed, and there's zero performance tracking. So how do you know what your lead conversion rate is if you don't track it, right? So the data is really in the details. When we talk about the 30 leads, the 30 appointments, and the 30 deals, the average realtor I believe, used to do between 4 and 7 deals in Ontario. Um, so if you're doing 4 to 7 deals, divide that out by 30. How many years is that going to take you to do 30 leads, 30 deals? And how many leads did you have to talk to get to those 7 deals, right? So with 30 leads, we want to know, where did your leads come from? Was it COI, so center of influence? Was it referrals? Was it digital marketing? Was it door knocking? What was the lead quality? Because we know that a lot of times we spend money to make money. And there's people who either buy their leads or know their leads, right? So when we say buy your leads, do you know what your return on your investment is when you're investing in those billboards, when you're investing in the lead conversion partners? Also, do they meet the criteria of your dream client? Again, if you're just throwing money out there to get leads, you're not necessarily honing in on your niche. So we want to make sure that when you get those 30 leads, that they are specific to you, that you know the clientele that you want to service, right? 30 appointments. How many leads does it take for you to book one appointment? What is your conversion rate? I know my conversion rate is usually, it used to be 1 in 4. Now I'm like 1 in 2. If I can get them at the table, I can sell them. But that takes time and scripting, right, Alicia?
Yeah, it didn't happen overnight. So it's
No, no.
set.
Yeah. It was like 1 in 10, 1 in 4. Then now I'm like 1 in 2. Does your conversion rate improve, stagnate, or decline? It should improve, depending on the quality of leads, again, and your knowledge base. If you know your scripts inside and out, you know the right things to say to people to gain their trust, right? Was the original lead from a warm lead, a cold lead, or COI? Did the prospect sign on as a client? Did you get that BRA signed? And then finally, your 30 deals. How long did it take to close the deal? We know on average it can take like 2 to 3 months, right, for a deal to close. But how long did it take for you to actually book that appointment? Was it 5 months? Was it 6 months? How many hours went into this sale? How many failed offers went in before closing on a home? So for me, I've got it detailed down. Most buyers, I can spend 15 hours with them and get a closed deal. That is my average. That's taking them out and showing them homes, getting an offer signed, and done. I have that worked out, and my listings are usually about 8 hours that total on that before I get a sale. So when you start knowing this, you know how much your time is worth and you know what you can delegate out, right? And these 30 deals, will they refer you? Are they going to be your biggest cheerleaders? Are they going to be your champions? And are they the ones writing the Google review?
Mm. So let's talk about Jody for a second. Stacey, I think you tell this story so beautiful. I would really love to hand this off because I know that you know Jody. And so I would love to turn it over to you, to tell the story of Jody for just a moment.
Okay, so Jody, thank you, Alicia. You didn't have to. That's really nice. So Jody actually started with me last January, which is nice because I always like starting fresh, right at the top of the year. So Jody is top 1%. She was always third place. In At her brokerage, she was part of a little bit of a team, but they didn't really operate as a team. So the problem that she came to us with was The situation was mostly strategy and solutions. So the solution obviously for her was the 30-30-30 method. And then we shortened that into the 6-6 method. The results were incredible because she did achieve her results. She had everything on the books within 6 months, closed within 8, and she hit number one a couple times. And I remember getting the message from Jody in March saying, I did it. I made number one. She was so excited. And the only reason she came to us was because the number one person had coaching and had systems and strategies. So when we deep dive into this a little bit more, what happens is we do full audits of the background of your business. So this kind of gives us a scope of what's going on, right? Alicia, when you get a new client, what's the first thing that you do?
Yeah, we always want to understand, what is that big picture? What is your problem? What's the problem we're going to fix together? And then break that down. And sometimes that problem is quite big and we have to break it down into smaller problems so that we can actually move forward with each one of our calls.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of agents out there, and you might be on the call listening to the webinar, you might find that there's zero work-life balance. You might find that you're glued to your phone. You might feel that you're guilty if you take time off from your clients to spend with your kids. You might feel that you don't have time to do the things that you really want to get done, like a renovation project or, fixing that backyard. So one of the things that Jody was doing specifically was Jody was working a lot and making a little from each commission. So one of the things that we did was we started tweaking what was going on with her systems. She didn't use her CRM. I feel like that CRM and budgets are like the two words. Like if you want to clear a room of realtors, those are the two words you say, but really they're the two things that keep you on track. So budget and systems were number one. Two was finding out what her goals and values were. Where did she want to align herself and what would make Jody happy, right? Because when we do your coaching sessions, these are customized to you. It's a bespoke method of really aligning yourself with your highest value and your highest purpose, right? So she was overworking and really couldn't break through her best performance to the number one. So the solution was she called us for coaching. We did time audits to make space for her personal life. And we really worked on mindset to not feel guilty, spending time with her families, walking her dog, working in her backyard. You're allowed to have human time. I tell all of my agents that you're allowed to have like some human time. And we really wanted to put effective systems in place. The other thing was Jody had an admin, but she wasn't really using her admin. Because if you're also like me and a control freak and no one can do anything the way that you could do it, I'm really learning how to delegate. But it's really hard to delegate when you have so many moving parts, right? And sometimes it's easier just to do it yourself and sink in the pain than it is to explain something to someone else and have trust and faith in someone that they're going to do it like you. So what we did was we baby stepped into having a good relationship with the admin. And we started getting the admin involved and we started actioning things and saying, this is the admin lane, this is the sales lane, this is the marketing lane. And once we were able to divvy those things up, we created more space and time. So in 4 months, Jody finally broke through third and became number one. In 8 months, Jody hit her target, which was 300K GCI, and she sold 15 less units. So she was selling less, making more. So that was really tweaking her sales area. And finally, she had the chance to enjoy multiple family vacations over the summer and even had time to renovate her kitchen and her bathroom. So next is her office. We're working on it. All right. So back to you, Alicia.
So let's ask, what is your time worth? So who tracks? I think this is the first thing. I track too. And when we start tracking and we start becoming very aware, consciously aware of the time, then all of a sudden we start to use our time a lot differently. And I love this story about Jody because this is probably sounds like a lot of you guys, right? Where you're just going and going, you're kind of on your own island. You think we're doing it right. But all of a sudden with that coaching, we started to have the system and we created that roadmap for you. So I want you to think about this really, really honest. Be honest with yourself right now. Where do your first 30 leads come from? Do you know? Do you like where they come from? Do you think that you need a different lead source? If you're not liking door knocking, for example, maybe we change where that's coming from. How many face-to-face appointments do you have? What's really important about these face-to-face appointments is the way I track them are actual signed agreements, not just I opened a door for somebody, because that's just opening a door for somebody. But when I'm looking at face-to-face, we're going to get into a business relationship. And then finally, those first 30 closed deals. How long does it take you to do that? Do you know? I love that Stacy knows. I know. But when we talk to most agents, they have no idea how much time is actually invested in it. They treat it more like a transaction as opposed to a business. And by looking at this and leaning in and deciding today that you're going to optimize this and move through some coaching calls, this starts to give you that clarity. So it's no longer transactional. It very much is of the mindset of a business owner, which is fabulous.
Yeah, absolutely. So remember earlier when I kind of foreshadowed and said that the average agent does between 4 and 7 deals? Remember when I said if you want to times or divide that into 30, it's literally going to take you sometimes 5 to 7 years if you're the average agent to collect this data. So we really want to help you achieve those results in a fraction of the time. Right, Alicia?
That's right. I don't know about you, but I don't want to wait 5 to 7 years. I'd rather get paid now. Let's do it.
I want it yesterday. Let's
Right?
go. Go.
So this is where the 6-6 method comes in. And it really comes into understanding all of these 30, 30, 30 data points. And once we understand where those data points come to, all of a sudden we can now create growth within 6 months. So the first thing I want you to be aware of is tracking all of those moving pieces. And the slide a few slides ago gave you all the details on should you be tracking. And when we look at over decades, we've been doing this. Kathleen Black has done this for over a decade now. In fact, I think it's closer to 15 or more years. And because of that, she knows that we've been tracking this information, not just with one or two, but hundreds and thousands of different teams and agents. And by creating this tracking, we're able to take all the data. We know exactly what we need to do so that we're able to condense this into less than 6 months, get the information and the skills that you need so that we can remove the 5 to 7 years and we can start implementing all of this information right away.
Absolutely. Okay, so how we're going to do this is we're going to talk about the 5 pillars of success, the inside out alignment method by none other than Kathleen Black. So with the 5 pillars, it gives you a bucket or a lane that you can subsort and start to organize things. And the first of our pillars is the pillar of vision. So Alicia, you want to talk about vision? Because I know you love this.
I have to refrain. I'm going to geek out here for a little bit, but the
Do
vision
it.
is so important. Anybody that I've worked with before knows I anchor everything on your values. Do you even know your values? It's so interesting as people come in. What are your values? Oh, I don't know. Well, once we get clarity on where do you want to go? What are your values for your business? What guides you? What is your belief? What do you want to achieve? When we get clear on the pillar of vision, this is the first pillar that really starts to shift things. It's no longer, oh, I'll take this or I'll deal with that. It all of a sudden becomes clear. When we anchor into your value, all of a sudden we can start to see why things are going a little bit sideways. We're also able to see and get clarity on we need to correct this and maybe update some of your values or really have a heart-to-heart talk with yourself. The other thing too is about what is your dream? What does that outcome look like? Oftentimes we get into this business for one reason, and then all of a sudden as we grow and evolve, our vision can change, and that's okay too. But what we want to make sure is that the vision is fundamentally attached to who we are. This creates congruency. Oh, we could talk about congruency and values all day long, Stacy, but I'll refrain from today. But the first thing that I want to leave everybody with the pillar of vision is asking you, are you clear on your vision? If you're not clear on your vision, you'll get onto the path of somebody who is clear. So I would encourage everybody, get some clarity. Where do you want to go? What is that outcome? What does success look like for you? And take a little bit of time and assess your values. Some value work will go a long way here.
Absolutely. And the other thing that I want to just tag on to this is usually it's a really funny experiment. And I don't know if you notice this too with your female clients versus your male clients. Whenever I ask my female clients, what do they value? What are their goals? What are their values? It's always about their family. And usually when I ask the males, it's usually all about money. So I feel like it's so funny, but I mean, that nurturer and provider attitude, it really does kind of get into the mix. But when we talk about your vision as well, What are things that you can chew on? What are things that you want? And don't feel guilty saying that I want this for me. Don't feel guilty saying that this is where I see myself. As a mom, Alicia, I know you can kind of echo that or resonate with that, but having a clear vision, it starts with you, right? Once you're clear, then everything else will fall in line.
Absolutely.
Okay. So the pillar of performance, you can bend time with skill mastery. We're not talking about, one of those cool sci-fi shows, but you can actually track your performance results, lead gen quality, conversion rates, sales average, etc. Workshop scripting, handling objections, buyer and seller presentations. These are all things that once you know them inside and out, it becomes routine and it doesn't seem scripted. I get a lot of this from agents. I don't like being on a script. I don't like being on a script. I'll just wing it. And then what they end up doing is they end up talking to the client for 45 minutes to an hour when they could have talked to him for 15 minutes, hooked him and booked them, got their foot in the door for the actual appointment, and then they could have sealed the deal. Some people get lost in the networking or the fluff of the business. And when we said that your time is worth money, right? You have a value there. So you want to make sure that you're hitting all your key points. And while it's important to bond with your clients and it's very important to have that relationship, it's also important that they know that you know your stuff. Because once you know your stuff, they feel that they can trust you more. They feel that not only are you friendly, but you're knowledgeable and you're a leader in your community. So you need to push through the discomfort and develop confidence in areas that might invoke fear and avoidance. So like door knocking or cold calling or all these things that have been foundational structural things for realtors for many, many years. They work. And it's just about coming up with the right lead in for you. Alicia, I've had some clients that said to me, I hate door knocking. And I get it too. I don't want to door knock when it's cold, but in the summertime, I can get my steps in. And I know you're all about your steps, but there's door knocking with value, right? You can create instances like you could do food drives, introduce yourself. You can have leaf cleanup bags. There's so many ways that you can integrate yourself in the community while also using these performance methods, right?
Absolutely. And one of the things I just want to touch on real quick too with the performance is when we're in our own space, we're only thinking about how we are interacting with our clients or leads at that point. But one of the things I really want to call out here from the performance is you guys are all attending this webinar today. So just think about how many other people attend webinars. So when you think you're good off the cuff, it creates more confidence in you when you are scripted because you're able to really enhance that performance. Think about some Olympic athletes, for example. They all have a coach. They're very honed in on their performance, but they also are very aware of what their competition is doing. And that's going to increase your performance as well by knowing that you have the confidence in order to overcome anything that's thrown at you. So that's a really key thing that I wanted to make too, Stacy.
No, excellent point. And leading into that, Alicia, why don't you take it away with the pillar of opportunity?
Yeah. So what can I implement today and change immediately in my business? The pillar of opportunity, it's amazing. This is what we do. This is what we show up for, right? If we just stay in our house, there's no opportunity. They don't know what we're doing. So what we want to do is really be able to create the momentum within our business. Where are the opportunities? Are we just sitting around waiting for the opportunities to land on our lap? Or are we taking active steps to really get in front of people? What are we doing for our lead generation? Do we only have one or two? Do we need the opportunity to revamp some of those? Do we need to look at what I love to do? Where is my opportunities coming from? If door knocking isn't your jam, maybe we need to look at that going into the next year and saying, well, where can we get a better return? What about your marketing? We know that over the last few years, a lot of marketing has really changed and how we market our homes for sale. So do you need to look at any of that? What were you doing? Do you need to get some new skills? Are you maybe going to lean into more social, or are you going to go back to basics with more direct mail, for example? What about reaching out to your database? Oh my gosh, your database is where everybody already knows, likes, and trusts you. This is the easiest one, and yet one that so many people avoid. What if you were to just reconnect with some old friends, some old colleagues? Remember, every call doesn't need to be, do you want to buy or sell? What if we just had an authentic, Stacy, how's it going? It's been a while. How are you? Right? When we look at prospecting, are we being diligent in this, or are we just waiting for it to show up on our lap? When you look at your prospecting, do you have time allocated in your calendar? Are you holding yourself accountable to that? Do you find that your prospecting gets put to the back burner when all of a sudden you have a client in place? The prospecting is really what creates that pipeline and having the more opportunities. So it's a little bit of investment of time today, but a long-term investment overall. And finally, attending events, networking. Oh my gosh, we just had a great summit. And I love this summit so much because this is where you get to network with other like-minded people. You get to say, hey, what do you got coming up? Oh my gosh, you're in this area. I can send you a referral. And I find that now that we're back into putting more people into big rooms, having these conversations, that networking is a really, really great opportunity for you, not only to connect with other colleagues, but also find out what's going on in other people's market. It creates more confidence for you to know all the moving pieces. So there's always so much opportunity available, but we can't just expect it to land on our lap. We have to be diligent in what we're doing to proactively create those opportunities for us.
100%. And also when doing everyone's business plans and doing everyone's budgets, again, sorry, the B word, budget, but when I go through and I start kind of analyzing where people are getting most of their data or most of their clients from, it's usually from referrals. So going to these events, it's paramount. Like I know myself, I got 3 referrals from our community, which the KB Inc. is community is fantastic. So we love all of you guys. And honestly, I had, there was an agent that came up to me and had like a little lip balm with a little card saying kissing up for referrals. And I thought that was so cute and very creative and genius. But that made me say, like, it made me think, oh, this agent goes the extra mile. I know that this person would probably take care of my clients if I had to refer them into the St. Catharines area. So little things like that, they make a huge difference. And the marketing revamp, it's always, you're talking to 2 marketing mavens here, guys. I'm all about refreshing your look at least once a year because new look, new you, it gets you motivated, gets you moving forward, and it creates opportunities and it creates eyeballs looking at you, right, Alicia?
Absolutely. And I love when they reach out. They're like, I love what you've done. Again, another organic way to reconnect with people. I love it.
Exactly. And you make your marketing match you. Like for me, I'm a little cheeky in some of my marketing and people are always like, that was so cool. I love that you did that. So you never know who's watching and when they're watching, but it could be an opportunity for you. All right. So speaking of culture, culture drives performance. So if we circle back to pillar 1, your company culture will really draw from your values and vision. Usually people, I joke around that brokerages are kind of like high school. You find your fit. So like some brokerages have certain values, like we have community-oriented brokerages. We have brokerages that, you know, they sponsor all the sport teams and you're like, oh man, the Century 21ers, they're totally going to kick butt at baseball this year. But like literally, it kind of reminds me of high school where everybody kind of finds their fit or their pod and you have like-minded individuals there. So when you have like-minded individuals there, it keeps you motivated, it keeps you on track, and it keeps you inspired. So to really build a healthy culture, you want to look at a couple things. What hiring and recruitment systems do you have in place to vet the right candidates? It is really important that when you hire someone, you don't ask the exact same 10 questions. I usually assist with a lot of the assistant hiring. And I'll ask offbeat questions because people rehearse, literally, they will rehearse the interview questions. So you might get someone who in an interview nails it. And then when they start their first day, you're like, who is this? Did they have a secret evil twin? Like, I don't know. So you really want to make sure that you're vetting the right people and that you get the right candidates. So we do something that's called a DISC assessment. So DISC, most of you guys have probably heard it or been assessed by us. And that really helps you find your fit and your people. Are team members empowered and aligned with their best strengths and talents? So are you giving and delegating to your team members the right work that aligns with their area of genius. You'll hear us talk about DISC and area of genius all day, every day, and twice on Mondays. And is there a mutually beneficial compensation structure in place? So if you look at things like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it's needs versus wants. So when we talk about this, are they being compensated correctly for the right amount of work they're doing? And sometimes the compensation will match the level of work or stress. Is there a mutually beneficial exchange of value? So one of the things that even with my brokerage, we have about 15 people with us right now, is we always want to tap into everyone's area of genius, respect everyone's ideas and values, even if there's something that we can't really implement. We want to make them feel seen and heard. And we also want to make them feel like our business is part of their business. They're on a partnership with us. They're not just working for us. Because when they have a little bit of ownership or they feel emotionally aligned with their team, then they're going to be your biggest cheerleaders and supporters, and you'll get less turnaround. Alicia used to run a team as well.
Yeah.
And I know you're very big on cultures also.
Yeah.
So maybe did you want to share a couple little things about your experience with culture?
Yeah, I was just going to say culture really makes it or breaks it. And I bet we could all kind of relate if we've worked in a team or even outside of the real estate industry, working corporate. You know, when you go into work and there's always one or two people that you just don't jive with, or there's always something that just doesn't feel right. And having a team of my own, it was really important that we all meshed together. We felt like we were all one unit. And all of a sudden, when somebody would come in that didn't feel that or was real outsider, you could really feel that. And then what happens in those is like, then we have little sidebar conversations. And now we're doing more chatting about other people as opposed to the whole purpose of being on the same page. And when the whole team works in one unit, it is a most beautiful thing. And it's something that I really pride myself on because I think you can relate to, Stacey, and maybe some of the people on this call today. When you are all in sync with one another, it is a beautiful. It creates more energy. It creates more optimism. Everybody knows what they're doing. And what you said at the top of this slide here is DISC. DISC was a game changer. If you're not DISC profiling anybody that's coming onto your team, I would highly encourage you to do that because understanding, now we also know that people are very complex people. It just gives us a high level, but it's enough to understand why is this agent not producing? And we can see because they prefer to be in front of the computer doing admin work or vice versa. It's like, hey, this admin, why aren't they doing any work? Well, because they're getting licensed, then they really should be out in the field. Having that culture is so important. And when you bring on somebody who's not aligned with your culture, you feel it. And all of a sudden that feels like work. And I said years ago, I said, I don't want to ever work a day in my life. I want it to all come so naturally that it just flows. And when you're in a natural flow, then you're in congruency. And that culture is what now will attract other people. Anybody that runs a team, they're like, knock, knock. Hey, are you hiring? No, not yet. Knock, knock. Are you hiring now? Because they're naturally watching what you're doing and want to be part of that. I don't know about you, but I always want to be part of that feeling of we all belong. We're one family. That's why I like KB Inc. for that, because we do feel like one huge family. And that's important when we're in our real estate teams and growing our teams as well.
And the other thing too, and that's beautifully put, Alicia. The other thing too, I find is not only are people watching, but there's a fear of missing out, right? So when you put something out there that's so amazing, you're naturally going to attract people into your team, into your universe, because they have a fear of missing out and because they want to belong. And there's so many people in the real estate industry that feel kind of left out on their own. So it's really important. Again, your pillar of culture is number one. So recognize and appreciate the people who do a good job for you. Create an environment that's safe, and that is inclusive, and also that's fun. Like Alicia says, we don't ever want to feel like we're working a day in our life. Even in the peak performance times, you still enjoy it. We do it because it's a labor of love, right?
That's right.
Okay, so pillar of data. Back to you, Alicia.
Data. Oh, the secret geek comes out. Okay. Data is really your GPS, guys. If you are not tracking it, you really don't know where you're going to. So I would ask you all right now, if I was to say to you, what was your gross income? What about your net income? Do you know those numbers? That's something you should be able to say right now to me. If you don't, you should know. How many of you strategically budget or invest in any growth development? That's something everybody kind of puts on the back burner. Oh, I'm good. I like to say I'm a life learner. And so because of that, we're always investing in data. We're always investing in more strategy, more information. Where are your recruits struggling in the performance and how are you targeting training? Do you train? Do you have checkpoints? Did you train them once and then set it and forget it and just hope that that one time that they learned a few scripts and now they're actually using it? Or have you put in checks and balances throughout to make sure that we are constantly improving and making sure that we haven't fallen into some old habits? It's kind of like driving the car, right? We're all good on the driving test, but once we got that license, do we really check the rear view mirror? Do we really check the blind spots? And this is where in our business, we should be checking those blind spots all the time. That's when all of a sudden, if we're not aware of the information and the data that's coming into us, we can be thrown off very quickly because the competition who is tracking stuff will get to know it. So I find that when we get really clear on every single minute of a day, don't hate me for that, but you know where your time is. Do you know how much that time actually created? And when you're looking at data, all of a sudden we can correlate the two of them. And then when we look at this and combined with all of the other pillars that we were speaking about, this data really starts to get clear. And once you get clear based on that value, this data starts to kind of roll and it snowballs. And guess what happens when it snowballs? It gets exciting because then we're hitting our goals. And the only way that we can get excited or then improve for next year is with data. For example, if we're investing into online leads and it's not our jam and it's not converting at high enough, we now have data to say this is not a strong source of leads for us. We maybe need to budget and look at something different next year. Same with any kind of conferences or leaning into coaching. If we realize we didn't have a great year last year, what could we do based on the data to get clear on where we need to get to? So being strategic in our data, so important. And I know, Stacey, this is really great because you also work with admins on data, because I know as agents, we're not really excited about this. But you now have the culture with your admin and use your admin as almost your own personal manager. Now your admin can roll up the data so that I could say, what was your GCI last year? And because you had the leverage of somebody on your team. So I think the data is really important. If you're not looking at it or not tracking it, even taking a small step to get some of this information so it becomes a habit. That's what I would really encourage anybody right now is to be looking at your data and keep honing in on it. It's like hey, Stacey and I both wear glasses, so we're aware of that machine that goes over when you go to the eye doctor and they switch it just a little bit, one or two, and it starts to create more focus and clarity. And by really honing in on the data and capturing that data, you too will start to see your business in a very clear way.
Absolutely.
What about you, Stacey? What do you think about data? Because I know you track it on a variety of different angles.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is I'm so guilty. I used to be one of those agents that just was like flying by the seat of my pants. I was doing a lot of volume and I wasn't really doing the tracking because the business was always coming. And then in 2019, I had a game changer for me and everything got stripped away. So I had to recreate everything from the foundation up again. So I needed to know my gross income because I needed to know what I could afford. And then when I had my gross income and I was going into a different tax bracket, I needed to know what I could write off as my net income, but still afford a mortgage. And so I started tracking out of necessity, really, truly. And it was mostly because I didn't have a lot of money to throw around. So I had to use my money efficiently and effectively. And I had to do a lot of guerrilla style marketing. So it really became about interpreting. What I find now is before I used to hate data, but now I really enjoy interpreting the data. So when I can put value and action behind it, it really makes me want to deep dive into it. So I get really excited because for every dollar I make, I put 30% here, 30% there. I really do throw 30% into debt, 30% into marketing, and 30% into savings. Anything else that I can write off, I do, so I don't have to pay the government as much as I want to. I know we're recording. Everyone's big brother's watching. But it's all about running your business as a business. And I was so focused on being a salesperson that I didn't think about it from a business angle. So that's really a mindset shift that a lot of you guys, if you're a top performer, you don't want to give away a lot of your money. That money should be working for you. And that was a mindset shift that I really had to get into and analyzing the data helped me do that. Um, the other thing too is I find when you're trying to track your agents, agents will think that you're tracking them because you want to watch them or you don't believe it's like a mom pa like scolding or like, what, you don't believe me that I'm doing this? No, it's not that we're trying to get you to brush your teeth, aka farm your area. It's more so that we need to see where we're getting the leads from and where they're converting and how much time is being spent on it. So when you shift that mindset from the agents of we're watching you to make sure you do your work to no, you're helping us grow the business because we want to invest more money where money is being made, right? So when you action your agents and you action yourself as an agent and you start really analyzing the data, did I get more leads from family and friends? Did I get more leads from referrals? Did I get more leads from the farming areas? How much time did it take me to door knock versus how much time did it take me to blast out a mass email? You're able to then start tapping into a resource. So think of it like a water pipeline, right? Rather than constantly going to the river and filling your bucket, you're drilling a hole and now you're creating a well where you can get clients anytime, if that makes sense. I'm all about the visuals. Sorry.
Love it. That's a great visual. I like that well. That's a great one.
Yeah. Okay, so common pitfalls to avoid. Do you want to take this, Alicia?
Yeah. So what we find is most often we target the symptoms instead of the root. I always say we got to go down a little bit further. What's presenting is not often the problem. It's deeper than that. So are you actually looking about what is on the surface, or are we diving into understanding what is really causing these pitfalls? Wasting time reinventing the wheel. I don't know how many agents I said, let's go out, let's go get some business. And they're like, I think I need to redo my logo. I think I need to redo my business cards. And I'm like, no, let's go out. Or they keep trying to do it their own way. I know you'd say this, but I'm going to just modify it a whole bunch. And I said, why are you doing that? We already have a perfectly round wheel here. Try not to go through and try and off the cuff. I'll do it myself. I'll try this. This is where we get out of our own way. And when we're doing systems, it's really important to get on that little bit of a magic carpet ride and go with the system. Many often do not track data. And even if it's in your head, that to me is not tracking it. I need something tangible. I remember back in the day, this is going to age me, but we used to have a big, huge whiteboard at the brokerage and everybody's name was on it. And you got to see all the deals month over month, week over week. And that was your old school way of tracking. And sometimes when it's really in your face and you have to see it and walk by, all of a sudden that starts to create some motivation when it's out for everybody to see. We also believe often that we have to do it all our own. And if you think about it, most people got into real estate as a solo agent, and then they decided, oh, I'll join a team, or maybe you had some success and decided you're going to grow a team. But oftentimes when we get into it, we think it's all on ourselves. We have to do everything our own way. And we don't really realize by leveraging and hiring people that are a little smarter than us or people that like things more than we do, that is really going to start to elevate how we do business. So you don't have to do it all your own. In fact, I would encourage you not to do it all on your own. When it's all on you, then it's all on you. And there isn't much room for growth or scalability. So these kind of pitfalls are really important to become aware of and understanding. Get onto a system that's already proven and tried and tested. And then that way you already can kind of hone in on where we can improve as opposed to trying to figure it out all on your own. What about you, Stacey? I know that you kind of see some of this. What are your pitfalls that you see?
So this is, again, kind of with the leading in with an analogy. This reminds me a lot of my patterns with dieting and exercise. I was I always wanted to look a certain way or be a certain way. And then after I hit 40, I was like, whatever. But then I wanted to get back on track. So really targeting the symptoms instead of the root. So one of the pitfalls is agents will get into a funk. They don't know what they're doing wrong. They don't know how to get out of the funk. They don't know how to change their mindset. They're not making deals, or they don't know how to grow their business because they're not getting the right support. Sometimes it's you. So again, when I talk to people about dieting and exercise, the reason why I'm not 130 pounds is because it's me. It's just me and it's the root and it is what it is. So if I want to do 200 deals, I got to figure out is it inside of me to do that? What am I doing it for? What's is it a response, or is it, am I being proactive, right? So wasting time reinventing the wheel, again, I equate this to every time I've had a nutritionist or like a diet plan, I'm like, no, I'm going to go keto. No, South Beach. But no, what you want to do is, and I would do it. I'm like, I'm not getting results in 4 weeks. So I'm just going to go switch to, now I'm going paleo. I am like the diet queen specialist. And then finally I was just like, okay, I need to cut it out. So I was like, I need to stick with something that has been proven, tried and true. I know what I need to do. I just need to do it. But the problem was with me, I didn't want to do the work. So I wanted the result, but I didn't want to do the work. So, and it is what it is. I'm a product of my own environment. We want what we want. We want it yesterday. But again, getting back to those values and roots, I'm like, no, I know that if I learn from the ground up, I put my nose to the ground and I focus, I'm going to get there. And I did. I did the work. I did the time. And now I went from being a solo agent to now running a brokerage, which is awesome. Not tracking the data is like working out and not being able to beat your best high score. So Alicia, you track your data, you track your steps, you track your calories, you track when you're on the treadmill, how long you're going and how many calories you burn. It's the same in your business. So if you're not tracking your data, how can you know that you're going to beat yourself? How can you know what you're improving on if you don't have a benchmark to measure? It's the same thing as taking your measurements when you're going to diet. You do your before and then you do your after. And then you're so pleased with your results. You're like, oh my God, I never thought I was going to achieve that, right? But once you actually see the data and the details, you're like, you're so proud and it motivates you and moves you forward, right? Believing you have to do it alone is one of those things. Again, if diet and exercise or your business is suffering and you need to trim some of the fat and get focused and get on track again, you have coaches. I actually had a client that said to me, I like going to the gym because my coach stares at me and says, do 50 push-ups. And I was like, fine, do 10 calls. So I made my client do 10 calls on our call. And then he was like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I'm like, I know. It's not like I made you do burpees or mountain climbers. So I think that those are things like once you change your mindset and you can relate it to something, then you're like, oh man, this is what I was doing the entire time. And then you really have to focus forward on what you want. Stay in your lane. Don't worry about what other people are doing and just go. It's all about you. The new year is coming and if you want to make changes, do it. But you have to ask yourself if you're ready.
Mm-hmm. So are you ready to scale?
Hell yeah. Woo.
So I want you to ask yourself, do you know exactly what systems you need and to have in place in order to hit your goal? Ask yourself honestly, what do you need? How do I know what to avoid to make so that I don't make costly mistakes implementing those, which are going to compromise your business? Our whole goal of business is to make money, not lose and spend it. Do I know how to scale these systems without breaking them and protect my time in the process? I find oftentimes when we're trying to shift and get into a system, we kind of go in and go on our own path. So I really want you to be very protective of your time, be very strategic with your time, and really take that path on a system that's tried and tested.
Yeah, I think, and that's the thing, right? And there's different ways to work with us too. We do offer support one-on-one on 3 levels using the inside out alignment method to help you drive growth no matter what stage you're at. So if you're an individual and you're looking to do some relentless to rise coaching, there's a lot of great things that we get into with you. We get into your disc, we get into your mindset, and then we create a path. We get into, again, some of those scripting things, the listing presentations, the buyer presentations, really knowing them inside and out. Top 1% is the solopreneur. So someone who is now developing and growing their business. You might have some admin staff and you're starting to get some agents. You may have a marketer. The industry icons are team coaching for 7+ figure scaling agents. So this is where we kind of take some of the pressure off of you. We can do group coaching with your agents. We come up with budgeting, business plans, strategic alliances with how you're going to work your quarters. Alicia, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah. So what I love the most about the industry icon is, remember when we said you don't have to do it alone? This is where we really take that heavy lifting. So we're able to work also with the team leader, but also take a lot of that pressure off the team leader for the training, whether it's with agents or admins. We're able to take all of that, create accountability and benchmarks so that you as the team leader can continue to drive your business, because oftentimes you're still the number one salesperson. And so we allow for that flow to come in place so that we're able to eventually move you into more of that business owner's mindset, and then have a really nice, strong team behind you. Whether you're just starting out growing or you're already there with a team, this is where we do customized plans with you so that we can get you to where you need to go based on what you want for the business, not just a cookie cutter coaching program.
No, absolutely. Okay, so how does it work, Alicia?
Yeah. So we've got some options for you. So one-on-one coaching and strategy. So some people love this. It's all about mindset support, overcoming your limiting beliefs, very data driven. It cuts out all of that wasted time. It's very tailored and goal oriented. So remember that vision. That's where we really want to hone into it. We also eliminate experimentation. We've done this. We train on it. This is what we do. And we coach some of the top teams within North America. We also scale from that solo agent. And I love watching them as they hit relentless to rise. And then they go to top 1%. And I love it when they hit the industry icon. So we're really here to eliminate any experimentation. We know what we're doing. Community support. Oh, the community is so important. It's more than just a transaction. It's all about being supportive, having a great community within the coaching programs so that you can leverage. We've got some great expert calls where you get to know one another, and that creates referrals, which is also really great. And we want to teach you how to scale strategically. This isn't a guessing game. This is where we know strategically where we're going, how you want to go. And that's by getting clarity on that vision, on that end goal. So we take that end goal, reverse engineer the whole plan for you so that you know exactly where you're at.
And if you want to book a strategy call, I'm going to minimize this here. Take a picture of this QR code and we will be able to book you guys in. Kat is going to be reaching out to people. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our sales team. And also you can follow us on Instagram or Facebook. And I'm going to just leave this up real quick and then let's take some questions.
Awesome. So if you guys have any questions about any of this, go ahead and drop that into the Q&A or to the chat, and we'll be happy to answer anything that you've got.
All right. And Kat already put in here, Kat here, if you want to see if we can help you book a free consult for your business with industry icons, you can just quickly click that link that she's put in there. Again, if you're interested in booking a strategy call, please scan the QR code and we will get that going for you. Does anyone have any questions? Will we get replays of this? So Alicia, I believe Stacy G sends out, once the session is complete, I think everyone gets a copy of it if you're an attendee, right?
I think so.
Yeah, me too. I believe so. Great question though.
Yeah.
If we sign up, how soon do we get started?
Oh, that's a good one.
Kat's gonna jump all over that. So realistically speaking, Kat is going to be the one that you're going to book the call with. So if you're interested, how many people are currently coaching with you? Well, we don't kiss and tell. No. We have a very big community.
Yeah, we have a nice big community with lots of great coaches that work in their unique genius, which is great. So we have, like we said, we coach a lot of the top teams, a lot of solo agents and those that are scaling up. So again, Kat will probably be able to give you more detail on that information.
Absolutely. You can get started as soon as December 1st, but overall, we start clients on the 1st and the 15th for anyone who was looking to get that information. And you can start as soon as this week or next. So Stacy G is answering in the answered column. Do we have any other questions before we wrap up our call today?
Awesome. Well, I hope that you guys got a ton of value out of this. It was really great connecting with everybody here. I would love to see you all in one of our coaching programs because we know that that's exactly what's going to take you guys to the next level.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much again for your time and happy selling. We'll
Happy
see you
selling.
later. Bye.
Bye, friends.